Hey guys, what's up? It's Natasha and welcome back to another video. Welcome to my April wrap-up. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's wild and crazy. But anyway, this month that passed, I read 11 books, I DNF'd 2, and I also partook in the Magical Readathon. It is basically an RPG kind of readathon where you choose a character who goes to school and you have to read books to study what this character is studying. My character studied the Wild Form Druid. She is now in her second year. Yes. And yeah, it went well. If you want more information or if you've missed all of it, I'll link the playlist down below if you want to go see my reading experience throughout the last 4 weeks. I guess that's that. So let's just jump right into the books that I read. So the first book I read was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and it is about this woman who is a struggling writer. She cannot get any publisher to actually gain interest in her writing, but she also has a writing friend who is super famous. She is also from Asian heritage. She writes books mainly focused on the Asian community and all that kinds of stuff. So unfortunately, one day when our main character visits her friend, the friend dies, and she was introduced to this manuscript that the friend was trying to work on, but it was still in like the first draft form. And when this writer dies, she decides to take it upon herself to just read through the manuscript and later decides to publish it as her own work. This book was really gripping to me. It was kind of that hint into the publication industry and what really happens behind the scenes, and it just makes things a whole lot scarier for those who have been wanting to publish books, and you're reading through this and you're just thinking, whoa, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. It was also commentary on someone who is white who has taken on the perception of they are Asian or from an Asian heritage, how it spiraled out of control for this character, and how she kind of indicates that she's the victim in all of this. Meanwhile, the dead friend is the victim in all of this, and it's a messy book. Let's just put it like that. My explanation is messy, and it is a messy book. It is a very interesting book to read, and I gave it 4 stars. I just feel like I needed something more from the ending. Like, something from the ending was lacking. I wanted more consequences for this character's actions, and I felt like I didn't really get it, or we didn't really get it. The next book is part of the Chatam series. If you're not familiar with the series, it's basically a young adult dystopian novel about a girl who has powers, who kills people when she touches them, and how she goes along this journey to find more people with powers. And there's this one character who wants her for himself, and he is crazed in a sense. You know, I can see the hype around this whole thing. But anyway, the first book I read in the series was Unrel Me, and the second one was Unrel Me. Yes, that is correct. This is just 2 novellas about the 2 characters that are, well, 2 characters in Juliet's life. The first one is Aaron, who is kind of the bad guy in her eyes, and the second one is Adam, who she is head over heels in love with, and their journey and their feelings towards her. It wasn't like an awe-inspiring book, like, wow, I need to read this. This is just because I have no self-control, and when there's novellas in books, I will read them as well. And I give this book a 3 star. It wasn't amazing or anything, but it was good to be in the perspective of the 2 boys' minds, I guess. And then the main book for the series was Unrel Me, and we follow Juliet further, where she discovers people who have powers, where she discovers betrayal, all that like a things. I have to admit that I love this cover. I just love the strew of pink in it. Because it is part of the series, I don't want to say more about it, but I really enjoyed this one. I give it 4 stars, and my only feedback for this book is I get the hype now. Yeah. The next book I read was A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. This also forms part of my 24 books to read for 2024 challenge, so I can check that off the list. Yay for me. I'm making far more progress than I did last year in this challenge. If you're not familiar with this book, it's just a high fantasy book about people vying for a throne. It's messy, it's bloody, it's, I don't know what else to say. I'm sure a lot of people know about this book or the series. If you haven't read the books, you have watched the series, so you know what this is about. I also gave it 4 stars merely because this is the 3rd time I've read. So yeah, there's not much I can say about this. I skipped the bad parts. If you know, you know. I didn't want to read those parts because it's so upsetting that I was just like, yeah, I'm not interested, thank you very much. Especially around Khal Drogo's whole clan there, the ending, or close to the ending there. I was just like, I'm not vibing with this. I didn't vibe with it the first time I read it or saw it. So, you know, it's also a part in the series that I skip. Because I don't want to know. I know what happens and I don't want to know again. So yeah, 4 stars. It was an enjoyable reread. I'm looking forward to continuing the series. I don't know why I chose this as my series to continue, but there it is. I just want to add, I think with this book, it's high fantasy because I know all the characters due to the series, the show, if I can put it like that. If I read this all on its own, I think I would have been so confused with all the characters that are mentioned here. And that's how I felt with Fire and Blood. There were so many characters mentioned that I was just like, I'm going with the flow, but I don't know who half of these people are. And thanks to, I think, the show, it just made things more clear for me, I guess. The next book I read was a release for this month. I believe it came out in April, and it is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. In this book, we follow Lucia, and she's got like this hidden talent where she can repair things. And it's, I think, set in the golden age of Spain. So it's kind of a rocky situation where if you practice magic, it's kind of, is it a gift from God or is it a gift, well, not a gift from the devil, but is it witchcraft and all that kind of things. So we follow Lucia as she tries to navigate around the people she works with, how to show she has magic without giving everything away. And one day the woman who she's working for realizes that she has magic and she tries to push her into the direction of a competition that will empower the king of Spain. It's a very niche kind of book, this. You know, but I really did enjoy it. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was gripping. I read it with my bestie as well as another friend over on Instagram. We enjoyed ourselves immensely. We went down a spiral of looking at Spotify playlists, people doing cosplaying, all that kind of things. It was enjoyable. I just feel like the book could have been a bit lengthier, under 300 pages. And I just feel like we needed a bit more, say 50 pages more, that focused on the plot as well as the romance. The romance kind of built up in the middle and then it was just rushed out, and then the plot came and in the last 20 pages it was just let's go, let's go, let's go. So I wanted more, but I really did enjoy it. And yeah, I think Leigh Bardugo never disappoints, so here you go. Then I read The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett, and this basically follows 2 twin sisters who leave a small town called Madrid to go about their own ways when they are 16. And then years later, one of the sisters returns and the other sister is nowhere to be found. Her one sister can't find her, and it's just a journey of the next generation of these 2 sisters, how they get linked and how they end up bringing the family together. I gave this book a 3.75, rounded up to a 4-star. I think my issue with this is it's a family saga book and there wasn't really consequences or drama or anything in this book. It was basically what a family saga is, just the day-to-day or year-to-year life of these characters and how they eventually end up together and how they all link together. And while I enjoyed the writing, I couldn't care. Really, I couldn't care. There were only 2 characters that carried this book for me all the way through, and it was Jude and Reese. So Jude is one of the sisters' daughter and Reese is her partner. So they were like the only reasons why I continue reading this book. Otherwise I would have DNF'd it a long time ago. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give a miss on Family Saga because it's just not my cup of tea. The next book was a romance, and I read The Long Game by Elena Almas. In this book we follow Adeline, and she is kind of like a social media manager for the soccer group, but apparently they aren't doing well. So I don't know, one day something happens. It is not really explained in the book, but anyway, one day something happens and she just attacks the mascot. And someone captures it on a video and they send it to social media. And this just plummets the whole club's reputation just further down the drain. So she is sent to a small town where she is told to focus all her energy on this soccer team, and she thinks this is her breakthrough. She's going to get back into the business and she's going to make her father proud, until she realizes that the soccer team consists of 9-year-olds and 3/4 of them like to wear tutus and don't even know how to score a goal. And to top that all off, she's also living close to a very grumpy kind of guy who is a former goalkeeper for a very famous soccer team, and he's trying to lay low. No one knows why, and yeah, they just start working together and eventually cook up a romance. And the first few pages, or I would say the first few chapters, was boring because Adeline was a bit too much. Like, she has this demeanor where she doesn't want to impose on anyone, so she doesn't want to upset anyone, and the house that she chose to live in was not livable at all. Like, there was an infested mattress and there were no real utilities in that house. And the soccer guy, whose name I've now forgotten, he tells her, you know, just talk to the owner of the property and tell them this is the issue. And she's like, oh no, it's fine. Yeah, I don't want to impose on anyone. And I'm just like, girl, you can't live there. Eventually, you know, things come around and things get better, but it's just that, I don't know, I feel like she didn't want to bother anyone, and even though the people offer, she's just like, no, I'm fine. She's not fine. When Cameron got into the mix and he started being his grumpy self and everything, I could really see the two, you know, connecting and all that kind of thing. So it took a while to get into it, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. 4 out of 5 stars for this one. The next book I read was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and this is a book that I DNF'd in February and picked up again this month. This is about Evangeline, who goes to the Fate of Broken Hearts to try and stop her true love from marrying her stepsister, and she believes that her one true love, or her true love, has been bewitched by who knows. She just feels like he's been bewitched. And so the Fate of Hearts is like, I can help you, but you will then owe me 3 true love's kisses. And without thinking, she's like, yeah, let's go for it. So the wedding party is then stopped, but in a manner that everyone is turned to stone. And Evangeline has the choice to either leave them be or to change herself into stone by drinking from this cup the Fate of Hearts has had in his hands. So she decides to drink it because she believes that her true love will save her. And 6 weeks later, he didn't save her. Shocker. And somehow she was saved. I don't know how that happened. And as a continuation in the book, she goes to the north to participate in the king's finding for bride. And that's where she comes across the Fate of Broken Hearts again and how their lives intertwine into an adventure of trying to solve a mystery and all that kinds of things. I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but you know, you get the gist. If you read the series, you would know what I'm talking about. I don't want to give a lot away, and I feel like I already did. Although I enjoyed the plot of this book, I enjoyed the way it went, and the mystery behind it and whatever happened. I just got annoyed with Evangeline's naivety. She was flip-flopping between, I trust this person, I don't trust this person, and it got so tiring after a while that I was just like, just choose. You know, if you upset someone, it's fine, but at least you know yourself if you made the right choice or something like that. And she also has the guidance of Jax that tells her, listen, the Fate of Broken Hearts, you can't trust this person. And she's like, no, it's fine. Yeah, nothing's wrong. And I'm just like, girl, at least listen to someone. So yeah, that annoyed me. But I am intrigued to see how the story goes for the rest of the trilogy. So I am picking up the next book. I just don't know when. Probably next month. We'll see. Well, this month. Is this month for you? Because of Evangeline's whole flip-flopping and the whole thing where she just annoyed me, I gave it 3 stars. The second last book I read was Starling House by Alex E. Horrow, and this is basically about a girl and her brother who's down and out. They live in a motel, and she always passes this house that is called Starling House. Because she's been plagued by this dream, she's also always been intrigued to see what is behind, but it's a very weird kind of house, so the townspeople are also like, don't go near it, don't look close to it, just don't do anything. And then one day, our main character, Opal, I don't know what she sees, but she touches the iron gates of this house and it nicks her hand and she starts bleeding. And this results in her having feverish dreams about this house, and she goes there to just find out what is happening in this house, and she gets hired as a cleaning lady from the person who owns this house, whose name is Arthur. And she's also being blackmailed by this one person who is trying to find out more from this house and what makes it such a mysterious house. It's a whole mystery surrounding this house and everything around it. It's kind of gothic-y, so if you want to read it during spooky season, I would highly suggest it. It was an enjoyable read. There were things in this book that I was just like, oh, this is hilarious, because both Opal and Arthur aren't described as this Adonises. They are actually just plain people. She has crooked teeth. He looks like a scarecrow most of the time. And how they just enjoy each other's company without being in each other's way, that kind of thing. And how they start to work together in the end to try and solve the issues surrounding this house. I really liked it, gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then the last book I read was from a local author in South Africa, and it is Pretty Average by Irene Vlotman. This book follows Esha, and she's kind of going through a spiral. She just turned 35 and she's like, I don't know what to do with my life. Life is so short. Everyone around me has accomplished so much and I'm still a social media manager assistant. Like, nothing really crazy about this. And we enter her life as something really bad goes on in the company that she works for, and she's implicated in it. It's like a corruption kind of thing. And she bumps into the investigator, whose name's Kane, and he somehow figures out that she's not involved in this, but she has been blackmailed into being involved in this. And it's just their journey together, how they try and solve this mystery, and how they cook up a romance together. And I really enjoyed this book. The banter between these two are enjoyable. The only thing I would say about this book is they were very hot and cold. Like, my parents has a shower where if you tap it just too lightly to the cold water side, you get blasted with ice water. And, you know, if you turn it back a bit, it blasts you with hot water. This is how these two were towards each other in the beginning. Even in the second day of their meeting, Kane is already like, oh, I think I'm head over heels in love with her. And I'm just like, it's your second day. But I really did enjoy the storytelling. The mystery behind it was really intriguing. I did know who was behind it, but it was just, it's kind of like that James Patterson book where you know who the guilty party is. You're just waiting for the characters to catch up on it. So it was an intriguing reading. It was enjoyable. There was this one point where Esha and Kane were talking to one another, and she said, you don't mind being called beautiful, do you? And he's like, well, as far as compliments go, that's a step up from douchebag, because she continuously called him a douchebag. And Esha just explained, she's like, don't let it get to your head. Douchebaggery can't be so easily evaded, you know. It takes a lot of hard work to get rid of that title. And just their banter together was so fun. This is also very situated in South African humor, so I don't know, it could be just me. There are some points where I thought was hilarious, and I don't think my husband would think it's hilarious. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of where you are. I don't remember if I mentioned this, but this is also set in Joburg. I guess you can see from the tower there. Well, it's an impression of the tower. The tower. So yeah. And then the books that I DNF'd include House of Ash and Shadow by Leah Stone. I started reading this book and then discovered that the chapters were 30 pages each. I don't vibe with thick chapters. There are breaks in between the chapters, so I don't understand why that couldn't just have been a chapter. You know, it doesn't make sense. So I was just like, you know what, I'm not in the mood for this right now. The book also just dove right into the plots. There was no, let's build this up, try and explain to you what is happening. It was just, let's go headfirst into it. And I felt a bit overwhelmed, so I put that book down. I'll probably read it another time, but this month wasn't the time. And then the other book I DNF'd was Valkyrie Landing by AJ Flowers. That book reads heavy YA. Like, I don't know, it's just, there's this continuous mention of a tree from Odin and all of that. I don't know, I couldn't vibe with the writing. The writing was continuously referring to something back, like you were aware of it, but it continuously referred back to it, and I was just like, okay, I get it. It's a lot of telling and not showing, so I put it down. I don't think I'm gonna pick it up again. That is one of the books that I was just like, maybe I'll try and find other books that AJ Flowers wrote, because some of the books look cool, but this one was just, it's a no for me.
No.
I think I'm slowly moving away from the young adult section, and I should stop buying books from the young adult section. Well, that is all the books that I read. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in a video next week. Bye.